budget?
Correct.
Okay.
But what we're going to be looking for is more line of sight on that. Okay, so the club should not be turning into an endowment. If there is fundraising in June for an activity that's going to happen in September, and that's why we didn't spend all that money, that would be why we would make a request to carry the funds over from one year to the next. If the club has a huge surplus, that would indicate that we're probably charging too much for that club and not spending enough on it. So that's why we're going to be looking closer at these rollovers on a go-forward basis.
Yeah, I think that there might have been some confusion on that in the past. And what it also can create is if you have a surplus, then spending it for no reason, just because you have money, rather than if you know you can roll it over. Do you know what I'm saying? So
it's a fine line between the two of those. So again, if it's over $300, we're saying put a request in, and if we've got line of sight on what the surplus was for and what it's going to be spent for in the following year, then we're going to roll that roll that money over. Like the results of the quiz bowl club. Very proud of our quiz bowl team. It's some de minimis money on the nutrition expense side. To run the program, there's a monthly fee associated with it. So that's what that $400 represents. Athletic programs, we actually had some new uniforms that were purchased in there. That's what that represents. If we come down to here, our lease and taxes number there. I've asked Nancy to try to tighten up her estimate because we were 4 cents off on this number here. So, just from a budgeting perspective, we're going to try to do a little bit better on that one there. But that's our lease expense. Facilities expenses here. You can see all the things that are listed out: janitorial supplies, facility supplies, and things like that. Utilities, we were spot on with what we were expecting there. And so on there, our IT spend right in line with what we were expecting. Our auditor spend, that actually needs to be adjusted because that should be being accrued every month, what our auditor costs us. So again, the school, because we're a charter school, we have to have an annual independent financial statement audit conducted. We will be reporting the results of that financial statement audit at our October board meeting is where that will be reported out. So that's a requirement that's different for a charter school than for a public school is to have an independent audit there. Legal expenses we've talked about in the past, other operating costs, and depreciation right in line with what we were expecting. So take all of that in, we come down to the bottom line at the end of the day. We ended up with a loss of $369,000 against what our original budget of $358,000 is what we were budgeting. So that does not cause me any concern at this point in time. That's what we were budgeting. Obviously, if you don't get any tuition in and you still have expenses going out the door, you're going to have a loss at the end of the day. Perfectly expected, and no surprises. So Craig, that's the Finance Committee report.
Anybody have any questions? Thank you very much. Let's move to Governance Committee.
Governance did not meet since the last board meeting, but we had a few items that were residual from before. One was a recommendation to disband 2 task forces. The Transportation Task Force that reports into the Finance Committee was defunct this past year, and so I recommend disbanding that. And there was an interview task force reporting into governance that was strictly for the purpose of interviewing for ED evaluation. So we would recommend disbanding both of those.
All right.
So I think that's just a chair.
And the interim ED task force.
The interim ED task force, actually.
We should actually just remain on it so they
We should. That's true. That should be disbanded as well.
So all 3 of those are disbanded?
Yeah, so all 3 of those are disbanded, okay. There will not be a note on the employee manual change, but just as a note, there is some Marianne alerted us to this inconsistency in the working hours between some of the handbooks, and so that's something that she will be looking at for the times. Yeah. The 3:30, 3:40.
I thought we caught all of those.
Thought we caught them all, but that's, and there are other places in the handbook that it wasn't entirely clear.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it needed fresh eyes since there were way too many people looking at it for too long.
Yeah.
So that will be done. And the final thing that we actually need to do is to officially vote as a board on her contract.
Okay.
So.
And you've reviewed your contract?
I have.
Okay.
Yes, all set. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, so she did vote on her contract, and it is, oh, I have it here. Well, it's all of, it was from August 18th until June 30th, 2015, and at an annual salary, or salary annualized at $130,000 a year, payable at normal payroll intervals, 4 weeks of vacation time, which is standard, and the 10 personal days, all were standard, and all the standard benefits that all our employees receive.
Okay. Is there a motion on the floor?
Make a motion to accept the contract as Pauline just outlined.
Okay. Second?
Second.
Melissa, all in favor?
Yeah.
All opposed? Motion passes.
You need to note that I'm recusing myself.
Yes.
Yes, all abstain. Thank you.
Or abstain, whatever I need to call it.
Yeah, that's it for governance.
Thank you, Pauline.
So, Craig, technically, just for the disbanding, I think officially you would, instead of just accepting the governance, you would, as chair, say that you are disbanding, state that you're disbanding the 3 task
Okay.
forces that are identified.
I'm disbanding the Transportation Task Force, the Interview Task Force, and the Interim ED Task Force.
I think you have to do a flourish with your hand when you do it, too.
Be gone
Accepted.
for now. Thank you, Roger. Education Committee.
We did not meet,
Okay.
so we have no update.
All right. Fundraising Committee.
The fundraising, otherwise known officially now as the Development Committee, has not met during the summer and looks forward to meeting, maybe not scheduled, but hopefully we plan to meet during the September timeframe and have a
Actually, it's still fundraising. We couldn't submit the bylaws yet. We voted on the bylaws changes July 29th, but Dees actually asked us to hold off on submitting them because we were ahead of all those changes, and they're putting out guidance in September, so we will submit them in
Okay.
September.
Okay, so we are still with fundraising.
Yes, we are still.
And so,
I'm sorry. I should invite Dr. Camello to the next Education Committee, and I'll send you a separate note. As acting principal, it is preceding the PTO meetings that same day, September 9th.
and then just for the board, the parent rep and the faculty rep have requested that they be on the agenda for updates, brief updates in each meeting, so I'll put that as standing items, and I'll let you all go ahead and give an update if you'd like. Melissa, if you'd like to go first.
I don't have any updates today. I do, one of the things that I did, I think the July meeting is I met with the parents for about half an hour before the meeting. I think that's something that I'll probably do moving forward. Today I
Okay.
couldn't because we had a couple other things going on.
Mhm.
So I'll find out, I'll make an effort to send out a notice to parents to let them know. I think that 30 minutes before was helpful. I do attend a lot of the other meetings that happen in the school, you know, the parent nights and PTO meetings, but I think for the parents really interested in what's going on in the BOT, that was a good portion of the meeting, or an opportunity for them to ask questions.
Yep.
Other than that, you know, I'll probably make my general thought update at the PTO meeting, and I think that one of the things that, you know, we've been talking about is how do we, I know Jess is looking at different ways, but how do we communicate better as representatives to the community? So one of the things might be a quarterly update, but I haven't had the opportunity to think about what that will be.
Okay. Jessica?
Hi, thanks, Greg. Thanks, first of all, for adding this as a permanent agenda item. I think that this was an idea we had. I think that we've identified communication in the past has been problematic. And so it's going to be my goal in a monthly report to kind of tell you sort of the feedback on the staff and how teachers are sort of feeling about it. And I'm going to tell you about things that, even though you don't have direct control, I know I'm going to say stuff and you're going to say, I can't do anything about it, but I still think it's important that you guys be aware of that. And I'm going to try my best to pass on both good and less than good things. That's my goal. So I have that the orientation week went very smoothly. We had some new formatting things that we did, like a little round robin thing. A lot of teachers were positive about that. We wanted to thank Mark Vital for organizing that. We were sort of with the vacuum and leadership there over the summer. I think that was really a huge task that he undertook. During the orientation, both Rick Porter and Dr. DeMello spoke to the entire group of teachers and sort of addressed us as a whole. That was unifying and I think necessary. And some of the teachers wanted to note that Dr. DeMello made a real effort to go and personally shake hands with each teacher. We got a 10th anniversary pin, and you didn't get your pin until you went up and talked to her and shook her hands. And a lot of the teachers were appreciative of that. Also, in regards to communication, this is stuff that both I've heard informally. I also sent out an email to all the staff asking them if they have anything that they want the board to know about, to let me know, and I'm happy to pass it on. So this is both a sort of an informal and, people specifying things. The only thing that I heard about the orientation week that people were kind of not so hot on was that for a lot of returning staff members, it felt like a full week was really a lot. There was a lot of time on our own that we had to just prep and set up our rooms and things like that, which we did need. But a lot of teachers were thinking that maybe in the future we could go to maybe not a full week, maybe just have a few days of required meetings, and then the rest of the days be more optional, and say the school is open and available to you, but try and consolidate all the required things into fewer days and let people do that on their own. And perhaps new staff members do need that full week, but returning staff members are feeling like that's a little redundant at this point. The start of the school year was good. It was really good to have all the kids back. There's a lot of positive energy in the school. Dr. DeMello, some teachers remarked to me that she's been very visible. She's been in classrooms. She's talking to kids in hallways. She's in the cafeteria. She's outside helping at the bus line. Teachers were really appreciative of that. Lots of the teachers moved classrooms over the summer. I think it's probably 85% of us have new classrooms. So that's a lot of resetting up for us and sort of finding where everybody is now. And so we're still adjusting to that. I personally am very happy that my classroom is no longer 45 degrees, but I will miss my little bird feeder that I had on my first floor window. I can't tell you how much positive feedback I have had about our new teacher's room. Thank you, Dr. DeMello. She came through and said this is not a teacher's room. She gave us a nice big room. We are eating lunch together in the upper school. That was not happening in the past. There was a lot of sort of isolated people eating in their classrooms, eating lunch by themselves, and I don't think that was healthy for us as a staff. So it's really been great to have, I'm eating lunch with both science and math teachers. It's novel. And there's a sort of side benefit of that, that in the past it's been difficult to enforce that the teachers should not be eating in the classroom. There was just no other place for us to go, so a lot of teachers ate their lunches in their classrooms. And of course there's student safety concerns around that with allergens. And so now that teachers really have a place to go, it's much easier for us to not eat at our desks, which I think is good for everybody. On a less positive note, there seemed to be a lot of scheduling snags, things like that. It might be the new portal system. Some of the teachers were feeling like they had a lot more periods scheduled than they thought they would. There was hope that when we work out the new contract that there'll be some equity in workload and things. And there was also sort of a sense among some teachers that it feels like every year when we start the school year, we're working out these things for the first time. And yet this should be the 10th time. Like, it shouldn't feel this year like we're scheduling everything from scratch. And it does sort of still feel like that. So, I mean, I guess that people would like it to feel like back to school feels a little bit more of returning to routine instead of creating new routines. Teachers appreciated tremendously, this has already been said, the principal search update from Dr. DeMello. That was really succinct and helpful. So that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Jessica. That concludes our open meeting. I would like to take agenda requests for next meeting, if you have them. And then we'll be going into executive session to discuss contract negotiations for non-represented personnel. Are there any agenda items for next month?
So in our annual board calendar, what we have for September is a school enrollment and attrition report from the ED, a report on AP results, usually, and then kickoff of family surveys.
Oh, already?
Not to go out in September, but to
To
start the
consult, to
process.
start the process?
To start the
Yeah,
process.
the surveys don't go out until October, but to begin the survey process.
For both,
Actually, staff, family, student surveys,
all three surveys?
Yeah. to begin planning. That, consult with board of that planning. That's what's on the overall.
All right. Anything else?
Update on communications that we talked about earlier.
We also need to do a board check-in on our goals.
Quarterly?
Yeah, quarterly, because we kind of missed.
Yeah. Do we need bylaws update, or is that going to come via governance?
That'll come through the governance committee report.
Do you need to say that we would like an update on the collective bargaining agreements and the complaints, or is that automatic?
The complaints will have
Complaints is
updates for the
automatic.
ones that need them. And then if there is an update on the collective bargaining agreement, we'll have it.
That'll come through the task force.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or the
oh,
committee.
from the task force, great task force.
Committee, it'll be committee now.
It'll be.
So there'll be a committee, right?
It's a committee.
task force.
It's a task force.
It's a task force
Oh.
because it's not a standing committee, yes.
Not a standing committee.
Okay. I wasn't sure if it was a negotiations committee.
Yep.
It's not a negotiations committee, it's a task.
It's a task force, okay.
It's a one-time activity.
And are you doing the third-party assessment update at that time?
I hope, we hope to do
Well,
it.
why don't we put it on there being the optimist, and
Yeah,
if
I
it
mean-
changes, this is our plan. Our plan is to, we'll have an update on
Okay.
And we'll probably be looking,
Third
or
party.
hoping for a principal search committee update, right, September, we talked about that.
All right.
Yeah, have a lot of
Can we
task force.
confirm the date?
So
Yes.
I will,
Date of next meeting?
that's the hard part.
Yeah.
We didn't establish that already?
We didn't schedule them all ahead of time?
We did schedule them all ahead of time, and somehow we missed that the September 25th meeting is Rosh Hashanah.
Oh, okay.
So whether we want to have it then or not is a question, but and the third Thursday, September 18th, is a curriculum night, I believe.
Yes,
It's a curriculum night.
And Rosh Hashanah is a one-day event, is that right?
No, it's
No.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yeah.
Do we want to do it
Is our
on a
problem.
Tuesday?
It starts at sundown the night before, so does it start Wednesday or Tuesday?
It starts Wednesday.
I believe it starts Wednesday. Yeah, it starts Wednesday. Right.
Both Tuesday, the 16th and 23rd are also parent nights.
So do we
That would
move it
be
to
our-
that first week?
So now
of
we're on
October 2nd?
Wednesday the 17th? What about Wednesday the 17th?
Could we do Monday, the 22nd?
That's,
Could do Monday the 22nd.
You can?
I cannot.
Oh, can you make the 17th?
I can make the 17th.
17th is awfully quick.
Yeah.
I'd rather later to make sure we can get out.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, is
That
it-
is an important item, Scott, you're right.
Does the 29th or 30th work? The next week?
Do you have the school calendar?
Well, I have a lot of the events placed in it, so there's not a parent night going on that I'm aware of.
How about the 30th of September, Tuesday?
I can pull up this calendar. It works for me.
I know it works.
All right, let's establish that.
That's the only one that's going to.
6:30, Tuesday, the
Oh, so we're picking
30th September.
Because we're so far out.
All right.
It was already scheduled to be.
Anybody have any concerns with that date?
Do we want to, is August set? I mean, is it?
All the others are,
All the other dates.
all the other dates
This
are
is the-
exactly,
okay,
it was
okay.
just that the September one, after we set it,
Right.
it was brought to my
It was-
attention that it was
it
Rosh
comes
Hashanah,
down.
yeah.
Okay.
The October one can't move because our auditors are coming. to
Right, the
present.
auditors-
Yeah, I just want to make sure that, my real question was whether there the other meetings set.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so all the other meetings are set. so-
Okay, so the 30th September at 6:30 normal time, Tuesday.
Tuesday.
So I would entertain a motion to move to executive session. If it passes, if we have a second, we'll then need to take a roll call vote.
Can I ask one more question?
No.
We used to have a student representative. Is that something that we're looking at doing again? Or do we think that it might be more beneficial just